I feel like I got pretty lucky last week with this little purchase. I was passing a thrift shop just as the store owner put out three boxes that were labeled 35 millimeter slides, New York City street scenes, 1980s. I pulled out one of the slides out and held it up to some light and saw the Twin Towers, and I was like, I gotta buy these. And they were stupid cheap. It was $5 for about 150, maybe 200 slides. I scanned most of them, and that's what I'm going to look at now. I mean, they're interested in other people's slides, family slides, estate slides. There's a lot of reasons that I've found it interesting for a long time. I used to collect slides like this almost obsessively. I had thousands of them, and I had a batch slide scanner where I could just drop in trays full of slides and just watch as they scanned one by one. Part of the interest, for me at least, has always been to figure out who these people are, or who they were, if they're still around, and maybe somebody wants their slides back or something. I don't know. In this case, the detective work was pretty easy. I determined that these people were all involved with, I can still never remember the name of it, the New York School of Urban Ministry, which still exists. As this website says, it was opened in '84. These slides are mostly dated 1988. The ones that have any date stamp on them at all say 1988. I think a number of others are probably from 1990. They are Kodachrome, they are Ektachrome, and then there were some off-brands that I don't remember. When I got them, they were not in any order, but at some point they had been organized, and there were three categories of slides that somebody had designated. One was homeless outreach, the other was food pantry, I think, and then the other was just NYC street scenes. What I concluded here is that the street scenes are actually, well, you know what, I'll get to that later. I just want to jump ahead to the first most awesome image that I got from this series, and that's this one. That is Calvary Cemetery over on the left. There's no mistaking it. That's the church, the Korean church that is now, or that used to be the mortuary for Calvary. And interestingly, here you have the Citigroup building under construction, and that makes perfect sense if this is going to be 1988, because that building was finished and open in 1990. So here's a little more detail. Ah, crap, I hate that. Here's a little more detail on the Calvary part of it. That might even be the Johnston Mausoleum. I'm not ready to commit to that, but that is about where it should be, I think. And there's this huge strand of hair flying down into the cemetery. But that is definitely Calvary. That looks like the LIE highway. There's the Empire State Building. There's the church. And these two signs, that says Greenpoint Avenue, that says Long Island Expressway, Midtown Tunnel. So there's no question where we are. And I love the abandoned car, by the way. Somebody just said, oh, to hell with this thing. Go back to the map here. I think my guess here, and don't hate me if I'm wrong, but I think the photo was taken right about here as they approach the BQE, and that this triangular patch of grass where the car is left abandoned, that's all this. That's this area. And I have further evidence to support this in another slide that comes up next, but this is just a cool image for me. You don't see, this stuff doesn't turn up very often at thrift shops or even on eBay, images of Calvary or any of the New York City cemeteries, just images taken by everyday people and put up for grabs on the auction. My further bit of evidence that was where they took the picture was at that bend in the BQE. is from this slide, and that is also Calvary Cemetery, and this has to be from the Kosciuszko BQE. There's no other place this could be from. And you see the city building again, still in its state of incomplete structure. So I think they probably took this picture just after the previous one, or maybe the other way around. But either way, I think I figured out the precise spot from which the first one was taken, and I just love this shot. I didn't enhance any of these photos. These are all just straight off the scanner, but I'm going to see, I might be able to, I'm going to see if I can do anything with this one to maybe make it printable, clean it up a bunch and make it printable. Oh, we'll see. This is my other Calvary photo that I got off of eBay, and this has nothing to do with the ministry slides that I'm looking at. Oh crap, I did it again. There it is. That's Calvary in the 70s from a slide that I got off of eBay probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I forgot that I bought it, and I never even opened the envelope. It sat in my drawer for probably 3 years. So when I opened it, I was quite surprised. Anyway, the slides are interesting, though. I mean, aside from that, like, who's this guy? That's just an interesting looking individual, and I wonder why they took his photo. If he doesn't seem to have anything to do with the ministry. And I thought I might have scanned this one in mirror image, because that happens pretty often with slides. You put it on the tray backwards. I just thought it looked weird. He was wearing a ring on his right hand. Most people wear rings on their left, but if you flip it, somehow that just doesn't look right to me. I can't quite put a finger on why, but it does at least put the ring on his left hand, but who cares? Interesting looking dude, though. I just wonder if he's anybody, I mean, we're all anybody, but I just wonder if he's a public figure or a celebrity. So here's some early evidence that the people who put these slides together were with the Christian ministry. I don't know I don't think any other slides here are from the Bowery mission, but I don't know. And there's your perfunctory Statue of Liberty photo. I'm not sure where this is from. These buildings look like Astoria. Oh, by the way, the ministry, or the School of Urban Ministry, is based in Astoria, and I found some evidence of that in the slides. But I don't know if there are any slides in this collection that are definitively in Astoria. But I'll get to the proof of all this later. But this looks like it wants to be Astoria, but can't think of a highway like this that runs right along the buildings like that. But maybe I'm happy to be wrong about that. I don't really know the roads all that well from the perspective of drivers, people who drive a lot. So this slide looks like it's from 1990, as evidenced by this sign, Queen's Festival 90. And over here, hiding in the other corner, is a sign for the New York School of Urban Ministry. And you can barely read it, but that says 34-something 46th Street. They call it LIC. I'd call it Astoria today. So this is like these people are basically a troupe of performers and clowns and singers and dancers and jugglers and stuff that just goes out there to spread the gospel, spread the word of God. And it's a school of ministry, so I guess a lot of these people are in training. And I think a lot of these photos, which end up being authentic street scenes from New York City, I think a lot of these photos were taken as evidence that these people were actually out there performing the curriculum so that they would qualify for whatever certification this organization gives them. No idea where this is, but I guess they're having a pep rally or something. That looks like the Staten Island Ferry. And there are a number of other ferry photos in this, so I think that aligns. And I believe this is in Bushwick based on other context that we'll see going through this. She appears to be handing religious literature to that individual, and the other one behind her is expecting to do the same. And again, this is like, these photos are not, these are like action shots of these people doing what they're supposed to be doing, what they're required to do to become certified ministers, I guess. Here we are back at, I forget if I said this, that's obviously Flushing Meadows, Corona Park, where this Jesus Loves New York truck is found. And that's obvious because the Unisphere is in the distance in the background. There's no other structure like that. I don't know where this is, but this is probably Bushwick again. There are a lot of Bushwick slides in here. Now this, I think I'd said something about homeless outreach, and I have a better, clearer shot of this guy later, but he appears to be kneeling in prayer with a homeless person who is sleeping in an old refrigerator box. But I'll have a clearer shot of this and the person next to him later. There is some graffiti. That's probably Bushwick again. There's a subway shot. This one, I believe, was dated 1988. I mean, most of them are, but this one, sometimes I just want to iterate that to say that, like, most of them are actually stamped with that date. Not all of them are. So they could have come before 1988. Who knows? Because 1988 would be when those slides were developed. It's just interesting to see what the subway looked like 23 years ago, I think, and what people looked like. That, I think, is the food distribution for the hungry. And there's Times Square, 1988, thereabouts. Doesn't look a whole lot different today, does it? But here's where I'm going with this. Not only did I get a couple of Calvary shots in this batch, which is very rare, but you got some payphones too. And this is just an early sighting. That's the New York Telephone logo on top. It's blurry, but that's no question, that's what it is. Over here, I remember there's a McDonald's that is probably still there. Yeah, that McDonald's is still there. It actually was a long time in McDonald's existence before a single location ever closed, which was a pretty impressive record. I think they were like 50 or 60 years into their existence before they finally closed some locations. I'm not sure if these two people are involved in the ministry or if this is really meant to be a candid shot. And I have no idea where that is, but that is a market behind a fence. There's some more Times Square, the Triple Treat Theater. I just like looking at the faces of everyday people in these kind of shots. Most of these folks, I mean, they had no idea their photo's being taken, right? And that may not be abundantly legible, but that is the World Trade Center subway stop, or one of them. There are a lot of Trade Center pictures in this set, and even though that's obviously not legible, I think the length of the words and the fact that there are three of them I think that says World Trade Center. And those are also some of my favorite pictures from this set, or from the Twin Towers. We'll get to those. There you go. Now that's a choice shot from, unless they're up in a chopper or an airplane, which is very unlikely, this had to have come from not just the observation deck, but the rooftop of one of the Twin Towers. And I had to look this up, but evidently rooftop access was permitted. But I'll get to that in a minute. I didn't remember that. I only went up to the top of the towers one time, and I know I took this exact picture more or less. I had like 2 or 3 shots from the top of the towers, but I have no idea what happened to them, and I don't lose things, so Don't have any idea what could have happened to those things. But this is a cool shot. I think that's Bushwick again, but I really don't know where that is. There's the Staten Island Ferry, probably taken from the other Staten Island Ferry sailing the other direction. And I don't know who they are, but they are probably watching the ministry people entertain, do their act, do their song and dance. And these two are talking it up on the Staten Island Ferry. She looks like Barbara Walters. And there's the towers off in the distance. And that's just a really cool shot. That looks like a professional level, professionally planned, and maybe even posed. I'll assume the woman in the black and white stripes is part of the ministry. But that's just a beauty shot. There's the Trade Center subway stop again. I think this one's a little more legible. Yeah, that's a little closer to legible. That's I don't have any question. That's what it says, World Trade Center. That does not look like the Staten Island Ferry to me, but I'm happy to be wrong. It just doesn't look big enough. This one provides further evidence, not that we really need it anymore, but all the people in these pictures are associated with some kind of religious movement that says Campus Crusade for Christ. And I wish I could read the rest of it, because that would have the exact date, or it would have the date of, well, the date of the t-shirt. I guess that doesn't really help much. And of course the mighty Twin Towers off in the distance. That's a plaque that is no longer present at Rockefeller Center, but that statue is. And that's the face of a woman who I guess is part of the ministry. I think that's probably Bushwick again. And I'll get to the evidence that a lot of these come from Bushwick later. Now this is the shot. This is where I think I said earlier, I only ever went up to the top once. I don't remember rooftop access being an option, but on the other hand, I might not have wanted to get up there even if it was. I did go New Year's Day 1991. It might have just been too cold to encourage people to go up into that, but I wish I could have done that. That is not Philippe Petit over there. That is, could assume, just a couple of average guys. I don't know. But I did find some videos on YouTube of people going up onto the roof, and you didn't seem to need any special permission to do it. So that looks like 6th Avenue, probably in the 40s. That's the chemical bank that later became Chase. And that might be 6th Avenue too. That's just a street scene. Don't know what they're talking about. You see, these guys were all over the place. Now we're on Canal Street down in Chinatown. And this is an easy one to guess because it's right there in the picture. Canal Street Market, etc., etc. I think that's Bushwick again. That is obviously the United Nations, probably taken from a boat on the river. And there's a clown yucking it up with some little girls in what I've been pretty sure is Bushwick. That looks like Fifth Avenue. And this looks like the food distribution table that they set up or that they volunteer at. I think I have a better shot of this later. This doesn't look abundantly like Grand Central, but it is, as the future images will show. And this is where it gets really good for me because you get some pretty clear imagery of the payphones that used to be there, as well as the wood phone booths that used to be so abundant at the terminal. I don't know what they're talking about. And I'm not sure where this is from either, but that's obviously the Statue of Liberty off in the distance. And that looks like a big NYC complex. Oh, I thought she was wearing a face mask. That's funny. I'd be like, wait, when were these pictures taken? That's not a face mask. And I'm not sure what they're doing here. And I love this picture, although it does raise one question. First of all, this feels and looks like Astoria to me, but there's just nothing definitive to say one way or the other. What confuses me about it is, why is this sign, why does it spell supermarket backwards? So I thought maybe I had scanned it mirror image, which happens once in a while with slides if you're not paying attention. But if I flip it and make it mirror image of what it is, her bag looks totally wrong. That N is backwards. But supermarket, or at least what you can see of it, is spelled in the proper orientation. So what is up with this? I'm guessing that this is right, because I got the orientation right on almost all the other ones. So somewhat confusing, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Like I said, this looks and feels like Astoria, which is where this ministry was based, but there's nothing definitive here, and I don't know who that woman is. I mean, how would I? I don't think she has anything to do with the ministry, though. And that spot looks familiar. I want to say South Street, but don't hate me if I'm wrong. Those wood poles look very familiar. And that's a cool shot. The Knickerbocker bootery with a clown out front talking to the dude in the sleeveless shirt. This is at the corner of Knickerbocker and Stanhope in Bushwick. And it's just a cool street scene, even though it's an action shot, which I think was taken just to prove to whoever needs to know that these guys are out there doing their thing. And there's a clown at rest after what I'm sure was a very long, exhausting day. That looks like Washington Square Park, where some of the buskers are doing some kind of choreographed production. Washington Square has become a real hellhole, by the way. I mean, it's been kind of a pit for as long as I've known it, but it's really gone to hell lately. And that looks like a everyday New York City street scene, but that dude is handing out the literature, and that's why they took this photo. And I guess he's talking this girl up, trying to convert her to the church, convert her to God, if she's not already. And here's a slightly warped and messed up shot of Times Square. Some of the detail in this one is cool. The Maxell sign, is that still there? I definitely remember it. I'm not sure if that one is still there, though. I think the Sbarro is still there. The TKTS, of course, is still there. If you go over here, you see a little vestige of Tads. That shit was disgusting. But you couldn't not eat it. You couldn't not desecrate your body with that shit. Anyway, nice little real world shot. There's that second picture of Calvary that I looked at earlier. That's a pretty cool shot, but not like the first one. And I know that's Lower Manhattan, obviously. Yeah, I think those two on the right are talking up the dude on the left to come to Jesus, come home to God. And that's a pretty cool shot too. That is Stanhope and Knickerbocker. There's Stanhope. There's the street sign. Gem. I wonder if that place isn't still there. I think that chain still exists. Discount store, I think. There's the Fava shoes. I remember that. Nice little detail of now I can't think of the name of the area again. I was about to say Flatbush, but that's not what I mean. Bushwick, yes. That's a pretty cool shot. I think I'd said earlier there was a clearer detail of the food distribution line, and that's what this is. They're handing out food to the poor, I guess. Or maybe that's not it. Maybe this is some kind of event. I don't know. That's another shot of that spot that I want to say is South Street, but don't hate me if I'm wrong. Looks very familiar. Now this picture was driving me crazy. Now I don't know about you, but I was looking at this trying to figure out what the hell it was. I thought it was some kind of hairy animal, which wouldn't make any sense in this context of these slides. But the more I stared into the center of this image, the hair started to move, and like all sides of the hair on this thing move, and they're doing it right now. I'm seeing it happen again. It's obviously an optical illusion because this is not an animated image of any kind. But I'm absolutely seeing it again, and maybe you do too. If you just stop and stare at this for 10 or 15 seconds, the hair starts to move. It is really kind of creepy. So I don't know how long I stared at this before realizing I had scanned it upside down. And it's some dude wearing a hat. But still, even this, the hair, if I stare at this for even just not even 10 seconds, it starts to move, and it's really weird. It's like it starts floating toward me. That's so weird. Alright, move on. That looks like the BQE, I guess. Brooklyn side. Approaching the Brooklyn Bridge. And that's a blurry shot from Times Square. And there's another shot from the rooftop of the Twin Towers. What's interesting about this shot actually is if you zoom in down low, you see 100 Avenue of the Americas is painted on the top of this building, but it's not there anymore. That painting has been painted over, I guess, and they must have had some good reason to do that. And there's some clowns bringing some God and good spirit to this little girl. I'm going to say Bushwick, even though I don't recognize that at all. I say Bushwick just based on the context of other slides. And that's obviously Union Square, where, you'll be thrilled to know, I once bought a couch at that Siemens furniture store, but they could not get it through the door. So they sent it back and I got a full refund. That was a long time ago. Anyway, these guys, they have a pretty good sized audience here over by the subway entrance. I want to say this is Astoria too, because I swear I recognize it, but then again, a set of swings looks like a set of swings, right? Or a playground looks like a playground. I'm just interested in knowing if any of these are in Astoria, because this organization is based in Astoria, and I found these slides in Astoria. And there's another shot of that same swing set. And this church shows up a few times. I never figured out where this one is. It is called the Lutheran Church of Our Savior, but I don't think I found any church by that name today, although I didn't make a real serious effort. And this is Grand Central, and here's where this is like the warm up for for a few pictures from now. Those are payphones back there. Those are the metal, maybe aluminum enclosures, and that looks like three of what used to be hundreds and hundreds of phones down there. So this guy is obviously playing a saxophone, and I could figure out exactly the spot that those people are standing on. I think if I had any motivation to do so, because this is pretty clear where we are. Oops. And then here's an outdoor shot. I guess that's on the Brooklyn side. There's the towers in the back. And here's this dude tearing it up on his saxophone on Knickerbocker Avenue in Bushwick, and the woman is handing out religious literature. And that's probably Bushwick too. I'm not sure what this is about, but they seem to be having some kind of moment here. And that, again, this looks like a perfectly candid street scene, and some of these actually seem to be purely that. But my hunch here is that the photo was taken to prove that those two were handing out literature, as they're supposed to do. And that dude on the middle's having a hallelujah moment. You can sort of see the payphones in this shot, but it's not as clear as we're about to see. Those are the phone booths in the back. And I think that's Union Square again. You can see Nobody Beats the Whiz back here, the defunct electronics store. And I don't know who they are. And they are stealthily approaching the woman, dragging her granny car behind her, to hand her literature and perhaps inculcate her into the fold. That looks like more of the same. They're chatting up God with this person. And I want this to be Astoria too, but this could be anywhere really. Bagel World, what the hell is that? It certainly feels like Astoria, but nothing definitive. No street signs even. That's probably still Knickerbocker Avenue. In fact, I'm pretty certain that it is. And that's the same place. More literature, and I forget if I said this earlier, but you see a number of these old "Don't Walk" signs. I was having a conversation with somebody on this YouTube channel about these a couple days ago, and I really liked that style. And when I'd heard they were going to replace them, I started getting photos of them, thinking I should catalog them before they disappear. But if I remember it right, they just seem to disappear overnight. They replaced those things with the newer models, like seemingly in just snap of a finger. That again is Grand Central, obviously. And here we go to the Lexington Avenue subway station, which looks pretty much the same today, but what would really change down here? But these guys played everywhere. They played subways, Grand Central, they played outdoors on the street, in the parks, these guys were all over the place. That looks like Grand Central again. I wonder what handing him, or maybe he's handing her. I can't tell what that is. Oh, I thought she had a cigarette in her mouth. That's that's not a cigarette. And everybody here seems to be looking at that person's butt, or contemplating it, or joking about it. And who says religious people cannot have a tawdry sense of humor, right? And here's another clue about the affiliation of these people that they have with the ministry. That dude's wearing a shirt from New York School of Urban Ministry. This detective work can be kind of fun. I used to do a lot of this when I bought up truckloads of slides. There's that church again that I didn't figure out where it was. Didn't really make a serious effort though. There they are again, working the streets, working the people. Here you go. Here's the here's the money shot. Maybe I shouldn't call it that. But those are some of the payphones that used to be at Grand Central. And is it this slide or another one? Whoops. That had the booths. I guess this isn't it. There's another one coming up that has pretty clear imagery of the wood phone booths that used to be down there. I think it's behind these people hugging each other. There it is. Those are blurry, but there's no question that that's the round overhead light with the black center, and the fan would have been to the right of it, to the right of the light. And those are the old booths. Those are the old wood phone booths that used to inhabit Grand Central and countless other indoor spaces in New York. And we even have an action shot here. That dude appears to be using that phone. He's sort of blocked by that guy's face, but I don't know what else he'd be doing standing there like that with his hand in his pocket. Or is that his hand in his pants? Holy crap. Do I want to know? A once common sight, people using a payphone, and I think it would be a lot more common today if people could make payphone calls, but with progress comes compromise. And there's the couple of clowns. They're not going door to door, they're going window to window. It's whatever works, right? And this is another piece of evidence that this is Bushwick, Stanhope Street, because there's the exact address. I think that says 265 Stanhope. It's not called the Redemption Ministry Center anymore, but it is still a ministry of some kind. And there's a group shot across from the Grand Central. I like this picture. They just seem happy. They seem genuinely pleased with themselves. And the crosses on their face are a nice touch, just to show you that these clowns are loving God or something like that. I just like that picture. It seems genuine. And there's a pretty big turnout. Stanhope Street outside the ministry in Bushwick. That's not a bad street scene for what it is. And there's my favorite. I think I already said this, but I didn't enhance or edit any of these in any kind of software, but I might try my hand at this one to see if I can make a printable copy. Such a cool shot. You know, you just don't see pictures of Calvary show very often in thrift shops or on eBay or anywhere. This is another one I thought I might have scanned in mirror image by mistake. See what happens if I flip it. Who the hell knows? And there I think I said earlier there'd be a closer up shot of this guy. he is kneeling, and so is the woman next to him, and praying with the homeless dude who is sleeping in a big empty refrigerator box. And I assume a similar scenario is taking place up here with those two individuals. And this is not obvious at first, but that is the Trinity Church Cemetery, Wall Street. And it would be easy to enhance this image such that these tombstones are a little more visible, but no question that's what they are and where this is, as the Twin Towers lurk behind. And there's that other picture, which is unrelated to this series, except that it's the only other amateur photo I've found of Calvary, so from the 1970s. So, hope you enjoyed that little slideshow. I want to leave with my other favorite shot from this series, which is this one, on the top of the world. Once upon a time.